Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Father Roderick, and welcome to my new studio. I finally managed to get online, to get the Wi-Fi streaming. I fixed my laptop, I installed my audio equipment, and hopefully made it look nice. So it's been a really long time since I've been able to do this. So I figured I'd just go online and chat a little bit and reacquaint myself with all of you in the YouTube community. For those of you that have never watched a live stream, I used to do this on a very regular basis, more than weekly, when I was still living in my previous rectory, and then I moved at the beginning of April to a new home. Well, actually, I was supposed to move into this place, but when I first arrived here, I saw immediately that it required a huge renovation. So that's what we've been working on for 6 months now, and it's finally finished. Well, almost. There's still some things left to do, but most of the stuff that I need to live and to work is here. And most importantly, of course, Wi-Fi, a good internet connection. And I'm really excited that I'm able to stream. I'm using my good old trusty 11-inch MacBook Air. Earlier today, when I wanted to go live and I wanted to stream, I noticed I did a speed test. Because Wi-Fi is literally just a few days ago it was installed here, so it's a few days old, and there may be all sorts of quirks. It's a mesh network, so at one point the repeater here upstairs didn't work, so I wasn't sure if the Wi-Fi bandwidth or the speed would be enough for streaming. So I checked it here on this laptop, and it was really low, and it was just going up and down. And it's like, oh, I'm back where I've been for the past 6 months in a rectory. I was staying with a friend of mine in his rectory, and they had horrible Wi-Fi, and the connection would constantly break. And so I couldn't do any serious streaming because I was so frustrated that you were in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden, no more Wi-Fi, no more internet connection. Everybody in the chat is like, oh, where did he go? What's happening? Is it me? Is the stream broken? And so when I noticed that the Wi-Fi, at least here on the laptop, didn't work that well, I was a bit alarmed. It's like, how is this possible? I've got fiber, I've got like brand new mesh network. It should be super. And after a bit of digging, it took me 2 hours to discover what was wrong. I noticed that it's probably something in the settings of the laptop. You have to delete your old preferences. Maybe I've been using this laptop for more than 10 years, maybe not that long, but very long. So probably a lot of the Wi-Fi settings were kind of still there from older homes where I lived or older rectories, and it was hampering, or it didn't allow the laptop to work at full speed. So I followed a few tutorials, got rid of the old preferences files, rebooted the computer, and lo and behold, I've got 200 up and more than 200 down. No, 200 down and more than 200 up. So that should be royally enough for streaming. Hey, I'm Michiel. Good to see you. Hey, Margot. I'm happy to be streaming again. Hey, Pika. Hey, was it Piotr or Pietro? I think it's Piotr Zieloni. Good to see you all. Claudia is there too. What are we building today on this channel? Well, this is just the podcast studio that you're looking at. So this is my podcast set. In the room next door is my Lego room. But I don't have lights. I don't have curtains. I don't have any equipment to stream there yet. But that's only a matter of time. What I hope is that I can get a new laptop for my main work, also for editing, and then I'll bring this old laptop next door for the Lego streams. Hey, Pavelek, good to see you. So what I did is I kind of built a set. Well, it's not really completely built. So I've got an IKEA desk here. I've got my Rodecaster Pro. I've got my laptop. I got this at IKEA. I really like these little, details, a bit of light. There are a few lights in the background as well, just to kind of give a little bit of something special in the background. And you may notice that the rest, I'm hopefully in focus. The rest is a little bit more blurry. It's because I'm using a very sensitive prime lens that is on the Canon M50 that I'm using to stream. And it's a 50mm lens, so it's really fast, as they call it. So it's very sensitive, so you can get more blurry backgrounds. The thing is, I've never been able to use it because it is a very cropped image. So it's almost as if you zoom in a lot with a lens. And so I never had a studio or a room where I could put the tripod far away enough to use this lens. Now I can. And the added advantage is that it can do a little bit of the blurry background, but it can also kind of give you more context, as it's not super cropped in, which is very different from when I'm, for instance, doing streaming at the PC. I'm streaming video games. I'm using a webcam, which is just right there in my face. It's literally like 50 centimeters, 25 inches away from my face. So even though that has a wide angle, it's not the same kind of quality image that you get when you're using a professional video lens. So hopefully that also helps to give the set and also these streams a little bit more production value. Hopefully the audio is also good. Let me know in the comments if the audio is okay. I'm using the Rode, the Heil PR40 microphone. That thing has been gathering dust for more than a year and a half, I think. I've always used, or at least for many years, I've used this microphone for podcasting. But again, I just didn't have the room for it. I couldn't figure out a good way to install it. There's this big arm, and in this setting, I can just move the arm to my left, your right. So most of it is out of the picture. Otherwise, it's just this huge. I used to have it this morning on this side, and then you see this big crane arm, and it looks fancy, but at the same time, you don't want that visual distraction. There's also a light in the background. It's actually down below here. You can tell if I hold my hand like that. It's almost as if there is a cauldron brewing, and that shines a bit of a backlight onto the curtains. And it's a Philips Hue lamp, so I can give it a different color. I can make it this. Now it's blue because it kind of matches the blue curtains, and blue combines really well with the warm tones of the light and the kind of the brown bookshelves. So, but I can turn that into other colors as well. Audio is great, says Dirk-Jan. That's good to know. I will play video games again. Yes, actually, that's definitely on my list. Still needed the computer where I'm usually gaming. I needed that for my television work. I've done like 3 weeks in a row of very, very intense editing. So I didn't have time for anything, not even podcasting. So audio is good, clear, and with a good volume. That's what I like to hear, because audio is even more important than video. Hey, Marco, good to see you. And Ivo is there too. Ivo is also a bit of a streaming expert now, because he's doing all the streaming from the church where I used to serve. Striking Talent says, good to have you back, Father. Setup looks good. Love the lamps and the candles. Yeah, me too. I'm really excited about this set. This is what I've always had in mind. And but it's always hard. Like, even when I was refurbishing the house and renovating, I still did not exactly know what I wanted with this room. And so at first I had another desk on the total opposite side of the room, and that seemed to me like the best kind of executive place. So this has a window, or it's actually a balcony here behind me, behind the curtain. So I didn't want to fill myself with huge backlight coming from outside. And so I turned everything around, and when I tried to film that, or I did some tests, it looked terrible. It's just a wall, and there's no detail. There's nothing. It didn't have that kind of professional, homely feel to it. And then it usually takes me a while to realize, well, wait a minute, what if I do this? And so I turned it around, I placed the desk here. When I closed the curtains and I put a light on it, and I'm actually also lit by 2 lamps, so there's a big shiny lamp there. It's not exactly the lighting that I'm aiming for, so I still need to get a diffuser. So this is pretty harsh light. You can tell by the shadows of my hands. So you want to have light that is a little bit more diffused, but I don't have a diffusion set up for these particular lamps. I'm also using like a mobile light that is on this side, which gives a little bit, kind of fills in the harsh shadows from the other light. And an additional advantage of having a light there is that it gives you a little twinkle in the eye, which I like twinkles. So it's a tiny little detail, but it helps so much to make the image a little bit clearer, more vibrant, more oomph. So it's tiny bits, things like that I'm so happy to finally be able to try out. And I'm not saying that nothing will change in the future, but so far so good. For a first stream here on YouTube, I am really, really happy with the results already. And despite the fact that I'm doing this with a 7 or 8 year old laptop with only 2 USB ports, which was a real hassle because I actually wanted to use a wired connection for the streaming, but I can't because I'm using one USB port for the Rodecaster, so that brings in the sound, the audio from this microphone. And then I've got another USB, the only other USB port on this Mac is hooked up to the camera that it uses as a USB cam. So there's no more room for a wired connection. I don't have a hub. I couldn't find an old-fashioned Type B connector hub. They don't sell those anymore. You have to get those USB-C hubs. And I was also telling myself, I can buy a hub, but I need to get another laptop anyway. So the curtain and the blue hue light really looks nice. Yeah, well, it helps to separate me from the background. That plus the blur. The blur is actually quite modest, and I notice now that on this side it's almost in focus. One way to counteract that would be to move the table a little bit closer to the camera, but then of course you lose that overall overview. So maybe I'll just leave it like that. It's not a problem that it's sharp and not blurry because it's kind of neutral anyway. It's just a blue color. But I do like the fact that I'm in focus and this light, for instance, is a little bit out of focus. So that also creates more depth. It makes the image look a little bit more three-dimensional. I may be able to do Microsoft Flight Simulator, although my PC is already a few years old as well, and the graphics card is a 1060, 3 gigs, so it's not the fastest graphics card. I'm like 2 generations behind, but with the current shortage, the prices are still so incredibly high that I don't see myself updating the PC, at least not now, not with these prices. Eva wants to know what camera I'm using. I'm using the Canon M50. These are the same cameras that I had set up in church before we got the PTZ cameras. Yeah, these are fine. Actually, they're very simple cameras. I use them for television work as well. It's all about the lenses. So this is a very good lens. This is a Canon lens. That is actually not made for this specific camera. It is a lens that I originally bought for my Canon ATD, which is a big DSLR, like a full-size DSLR. But I ditched those because the M50s are much easier to carry around. They had better image quality. But I still had that lens. And so I bought what they call, I think it's called, not a booster, speed booster. Is that what it's called? It's like a connection. It's a separate like lens element that you put that makes it fit on a smaller camera like the M50. But it also has a lens in it that widens the overall field of view. So even though this is a 50mm lens, with that speed booster in between the lens and the camera, it actually reduces the field of view from 50mm to I think it's about 35mm. Another way to do this would be, of course, to get a full frame camera. That's next on my list. That's to get one of those Sony S7 7S3 cameras. That is also a camera that I can use for documentary work. And that's a full frame camera. So if you get a good lens for those, it has even less of a crop. But that's still not for now. The lighting really helps for the warmth. Yeah, it's just this little element. It gives a bit of a fire. This is one of those light bulbs this is a 2100K light. So it's almost the color of candles or of candlelight. And the rest of the lights, even I've got some light spots built in the ceiling. All that is Philips Hue, so I can turn that to a rather cold light. So that's daylight, which makes sure that all the colors are kind of what they are supposed to be. And then when you add yellow elements like that, they really pop because the rest of the color is kind of neutral. Yeah, it's cozy. Of course, during the day there is these are not light blocking curtains, so there is some light coming from outside, especially on a sunny day. But it's still, it darkens it enough for my purposes. And in the future, I may as well replace these curtains with something, I don't know, maybe even nicer. These are the curtains from the previous inhabitants, and they left them here because, of course, curtains are always kind of tailored to size. And it saves me a lot of money just to keep them. So I just had them dry cleaned, which was expensive enough, and now I'm just keeping them. And I have to say that I like the color. I like the dark blue. It really helps with these are also very old bookshelves. I bought these more than 10 years ago. This color is no longer at all available at IKEA. They change their colors every day. Even this type of cupboard is not available anymore. It kind of looks like the Billy bookshelves, but they're much deeper, which is great if you want to put books in that. The problem with Billy's is that it's for regular books it works, but for slightly larger books or ordiners, it usually is too small. So I'm keeping these. I was uncertain if this color would work because the rest of the room is kind of gray. There's gray carpet on the floor. So I was a bit nervous that it would look too kind of old-fashioned. But I have to say, especially with this light, the kind of slightly more neutral, colder daylight makes it look much more brown than it actually is. So during the day, this is almost kind of has an orange hue to it. But thanks to this lighting, you can play with that, and the white balance kind of corrects the color and makes it look actually quite classy, I have to say. The problem, and also another thing is, since the lens is a bit of at an angle, I had to figure out what to put in this part of the bookcase to make it look useful or filled with stuff without it looking too cluttery. That's always been my problem in the past. I used to have I've experimented a lot with different backgrounds in the past. Even when I was in my previous rectory, and it just never looked nice. It always looked, even if I put it like little Simpsons toys in it, and I thought, let's just cram a lot of stuff in there, and that'll make it look nice. But in fact, it's all about composition. It's all about, you have to fill it, but at the same time, it needs to be easy on the eyes. So, for instance, that's why I put these black carton boxes here, you see that there's something there, but it doesn't distract you. The books there, these are actually Bibles, the blue ones there. Three Bibles, and that one's actually Harry Potter in Latin, the Black Book. So, but you don't want to go for all sorts of different book colors because it's very distracting to have like very colorful elements. However, a light like the candle in the background, or even this is like a where is it? I should point probably like that. It's a small treasure chest. It's like a red leather treasure chest, and there are it's actually Christmas ornaments in there, but there are tiny LED lights in there on a battery, and it just gives that little bit of warmth and something twinkling in the background. And I may actually add some more up there, or maybe there. These are just a few like glass containers, but I didn't want to overdo it, and I think this works. It makes it feel like it belongs there, even though it's completely created for the set. This is just set dressing. But hey, I'm learning. I'm discovering how to do this. And another thing is it's all about like simplicity. You don't want to. Everything needs to have a certain function. So you do want to surround yourself with stuff, but I cannot add anything more to this table. There's even a little bit too much cabling here visible. I don't like these wide cables, but that's the only way. This laptop cannot survive more than half an hour without being hooked up to the mains outlet. So all this, maybe I'll get a black USB cable so you won't notice it that much. It's these little details that make all the difference and that make something look clean, composed, or cluttered. Hopefully you will play Animal Crossing again. Yeah, I noticed that there was a big update, and there's also going to be a paid DLC, I think, I didn't really look into it, but yeah, I hooked up actually all my game consoles. You can't see it from here. Are hooked up to a television that is also in this studio. I do have a television downstairs, but it's more for movies. And I wanted to create a place here where I can just play video games and without having to constantly dust off all that equipment. I used to have these game consoles in the living room, and it just looks very cluttered. And so I keep that here where it has its place. And yeah, it's actually quite... yesterday, for the first time in, again, 6 months, I played a video game on the Xbox. And I only played for an hour, but it made me so happy. I was like, oh, finally, I'm back. You know, I have this... This is what I've been missing for so long, and it's such a joy to just do something else than renovating a home and work, because that's what my life consisted of for the past half year or even longer. And also my kind of the community suffered from that, because I couldn't do streaming or just almost, it was almost impossible. And now in this new situation, now that this works, and this is why I wanted to do this test stream on YouTube, I think it's stable. I'm still here. It's still live. I think if this works out, then I can try more ambitious things and go and build the Lego studio. I want to be able to do video from the kitchen as well. I've got a very nice kitchen downstairs, and I would love to cook with you. Just create, make meals and chat at the same time. There's so many things that are just fun to do with the community. But since I was in someone else's house, you don't even want to begin trying. Margot's watching on the phone. Yeah, on the phone, of course, you don't see all those details. If you watch this on a bigger screen, for instance, if you're watching this on YouTube on your TV, then of course it's a much you see these details more clearer. All right, I think I'm going to keep it at this because it is already past my bedtime. Tomorrow will be the ordination to the deaconate of Eric. Eric was my housemate at Father Henry's house. So he lives at Father Henry's place, just like I did. So he's going to be ordained a deacon tomorrow, transitional deacon, which means he's going to be a priest about half a year later. So I have to travel for that. So I need to wake up early and go to bed in time. So thank you so much. It's fun to see you back again. If you're watching this after it's been live, let me know in the comments what you thought. Leave me a remark. I'll be back with lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of content. I am almost completely done with my television work, so I can focus on building the YouTube community. I can focus on podcasting. I can focus on making documentaries. So this is what I've been dreaming of for so long, and it is becoming a reality. I couldn't be more happy. It's great seeing you, great talking to you. Again, leave a comment or give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And we'll talk soon. Have a good rest of your day.